Hello, students. Hope you all are fine and you have gone through the previous video of this chapter Indigo. So, till now, we have come to know that Gandhiji was invited by a peasant, Rajkumar Shukla, to Champaran because he wanted Gandhiji to help them, to help the sharecroppers. Gandhiji went there. On the way, he went to Rajendra Prasad's house, but unfortunately, he was not able to meet Rajendra Prasad. So he went to Muzaffarpur, where he met some lawyers. The lawyers told him about their cases, and they also told him what kind of a fee they were taking. Gandhiji scolded the lawyers for collecting big fee from the sharecroppers. And Gandhiji here also concluded that taking such cases to the court does little good, does nothing good. Because the peasants are so crushed and fear stricken, they are not able to speak openly in court. Moreover, the first thing which should be done to the peasants is to make them free from fear. So he's decided that he would not go to court with the peasants. First, he would do something to make the peasants fear free. So let's see the last stanza of this page, number 48. Most of the arable land in the Champaran district was divided into large estates. Arable means fertile, which can be cultivated. So, the arable land in the Champaran district was divided into large estates owned by Englishmen. So, the whole land of Champaran was divided into parts, and the owners were, of course, Englishmen and worked by Indian tenants. And the people who worked over here as tenants were Indian peasants. The chief major commercial crop was indigo. The landlords compelled all tenants to plant 3/20 or you can say 15% of their holdings with indigo and surrendered the entire indigo harvest as rent. This was sharecropping, that the landlords compelled all tenants to grow indigo on 15% of their holdings and then give the entire crop, entire indigo to them as rent. So they did not demand money as rent, they demanded indigo as rent because indigo was in such a great demand in all the other countries and they could get a huge profit by this. So they wanted Indian peasants to grow indigo. But growing indigo needed a lot of hard work and it also affected the fertility of the soil, fertility of the land, the soil. That is the reason that the peasants were not happy growing indigo, but they had to do it because this was done by a long term contract. It was a contract, they had to grow indigo. This was the problem in Champaran. Presently, the landlords learned that Germany had developed synthetic indigo, machine made indigo. They thereupon obtained agreements from the sharecroppers to pay them compensation for being released from the 15% arrangement. See now, the English men, they freed the Indian peasants from growing indigo. They said, okay, you don't need to grow indigo now, you will have to give us compensation because we are releasing you from the contract. They didn't tell that they didn't need the indigo now because the synthetic indigo was developed by Germany. It was cheaper, so now the demand of this produced indigo was not much in the market, so they had to release the peasants, but for this also they wanted compensation. The sharecropping arrangement was irksome, irritating to the peasants, and many signed willingly. Many were very happy. They signed that they did not want to grow indigo. Those who resisted, opposed, engaged lawyers. The landlords hired thugs, physically very strong persons to bully somebody. Those are thugs. Meanwhile, the information about synthetic indigo reached the illiterate peasants who had signed and they wanted their money back. And the peasants who had signed and gave the money, when they came to know that it was not because of Englishmen wanted them to be free from the contract, it was because the machine made indigo was invented. So now they thought that they were cheated, the money was illegally taken by them, so they wanted their money back. At this point, Gandhi arrived in Champaran when some peasants had signed and wanted their money back, and some were beaten by the Englishmen because they were opposing to give the money. So at this point, Gandhi arrived in Champaran. He began by trying to get the facts. He wanted to get the facts, not only the rumors. He wanted to get the details about this. First, he visited the secretary of the British Landlords Association. The secretary told him that they could give no information to an outsider. So, the British secretary in India was calling Gandhiji as an outsider. Gandhi answered that he was no outsider. He was an Indian, he belonged to that nation. How could he be an outsider? Next, Gandhi called on the British official commissioner of the Tirhut division in which the Champaran district lay. The commissioner, Gandhi reports, proceeded to bully me and advised me forthwith, directly, to leave Tirhut. So, when British Landlords Association's secretary refused to give him any information, he went to the British official commissioner, and that commissioner also was a Britisher. So he said he would not give any information to him. Moreover, he bullied him, he warned him to go away from that area. But Gandhi was a strong person. Gandhi did not leave. Instead, he proceeded to Motihari, the capital of Champaran. So he didn't leave, he went further in the center of the area. Several lawyers accompanied him. At the railway station, a vast multitude greeted Gandhi. Greeted, welcomed, vast means huge. He went to a house and, using it as headquarters, continued his investigations. A report came in that a peasant had been badly treated in a nearby village. Gandhi decided to go and see. Okay, so he came to know that a peasant was maltreated by the Britishers, so he wanted to go and see that peasant. The next morning, he started out on the back of an elephant. He was going to that nearby village to see that villager who was maltreated. He had not moved far, when the police superintendent's messenger overtook him and ordered him to return. So the police did not want Gandhi to go to that village, to meet that villager. So they ordered him to return to town. In his carriage, Gandhi complied, agreed. He didn't make an issue because he was along with many people. He did not want to, start a situation of conflict or fight. So he complied, he agreed. The messenger drove Gandhi home, where he served him with an official notice to quit Champaran immediately. Messenger dropped Gandhi at his home, wherever he was living, and there he was also given a legal notice to leave Champaran. Gandhi signed a receipt receiving for the notice and wrote on it that he would disobey the order. So Gandhi, because it was a legal notice, received it, but with receiving he also wrote that he would not obey the order, he would not leave Champaran. So here, for the very first time, Gandhiji was disobeying the law. So here also you can say the civil disobedience movement started. This is very important part. Gandhiji used civil disobedience movement for the first time in Champaran, and later on it was used by him many a times when he was fighting for Indian independence. In consequence, Gandhi received a summons, a legal order, to appear in court the next day. Of course, he was disobeying a legal order, so he would have to be present in the court. There was an order for him. All night, Gandhi remained awake. He telegraphed Rajendra Prasad to come from Bihar with influential friends, who are having a very good influence on people. He sent instructions to the ashram, and he wired a full report to the viceroy. He thought that he would not come back from the court. He thought he would be arrested because he disobeyed the law. So before being arrested, he actually did some preparations. He telegraphed other lawyers also to come to help the people of Champaran. He sent instructions to his ashram too, and he also sent the whole report to the viceroy, which is said to be the head of the British authorities in India at that time. Morning found the town of Motihari black with peasants, means there was a lot of crowd of peasants. They didn't know Gandhi's record in South Africa. They didn't know that Gandhi was so powerful. They had merely only heard that a Mahatma who wanted to help them was in trouble with the authorities. These illiterate people also, only knew this, that the person, the Mahatma, wanted to help them, and now he is in trouble, so these people should help him. They didn't know that the person has proved himself already. He has a very good influence on every person who's around him. He can do he can help himself if he desires, if he wants. He's so powerful. But they just came to help him. Their spontaneous natural demonstration in thousands around the courthouse was the beginning of their liberation from fear of the British. So for the first time they got united. They came collectively to help a person, a representative of their own. So it could be said the beginning of their fear from the British, the their freedom from the fear of the British. And it was what Gandhiji wanted. If you remember, Gandhiji said taking such cases to the court does little good. The major relief for them would be to release them from the fear of the Britishers. So here actually the fear was beginning to slack. The officials felt powerless without Gandhi's cooperation. There were thousands of peasants. It was impossible for police to control them. So who came to help? It was Gandhiji. He helped them regulate the crowd, control the crowd. He was polite and friendly. He was giving them refers to the Britishers, concrete proof that their might here means strength or power. Hitherto dreaded, it means which is by now dreaded, means the people had got dread of this power, and unquestioned, and people had never questioned about this might or power could be challenged by Indians. But now their might, which was not questioned by far, can be challenged now. The people, if united, can challenge the Britishers, the power of each and every Britisher. The government was baffled because they were not ready for it. They did not believe that the peasants, the Indians, could be so united and fearless. So they got baffled, confused. The prosecutor requested the judge to postpone the trial. Prosecutor means the, you can say, lawyer of the opponent team. He requested the judge to postpone the trial. Apparently, the authorities wished to consult their superiors. Why so? Because if they gave the judgment, there could be two judgments. First, Gandhiji was guilty, he would be sent to jail. If he were sent to jail, the crowd outside the courthouse could show their power and could do, you can say, destruction, or could become violent. And second, if they release Gandhiji without any sentence or punishment, it could be a bad example, because the other people could think that if Gandhiji could be released after disobeying the law, they can also do that. They could also do that. So it was, in either way, it was difficult for the authorities. So they wanted to consult their superiors. Gandhi protested against the delay. He wanted the judgment to be given as quickly as possible. He read a statement pleading guilty. He was involved, he told the court, in a conflict of duties. So Gandhiji said this in the court, that yes, he was guilty. Why he was guilty? Because he was in a conflict of duties. It is very important. Conflict of duties. On one hand, not to set a bad example as a lawbreaker. On the other hand, to render, to show, to serve the humanitarian and national service for which he had come. He said that he also did not want to disobey the law, because it could set a bad example for others. The people who followed Gandhiji, who were his disciples, could also go on breaking the law, because Gandhiji himself had done this. So he could set a bad example. But he had to do this because he wanted to serve humanitarian and national service, which is actually above than any law, any man-made law. This humanity is above those boundaries. He disregarded the order to leave, not for want of. Want of means lack of respect for lawful authority, but in obedience to the higher law of our being, the voice of conscience. He said he disregarded the order to leave. He disobeyed the order to leave. was not because he lacked respect for lawful authority. No, he respected law a lot. But he also wanted to be respectful. He also wanted to give respect to the voice of conscience. So he said that serving humanity was more important than obeying the law. He asked the penalty due. He said, I am guilty, please give me my punishment. And they could not punish him. The magistrate announced that he would pronounce sentence after a 2-hour recess and asked Gandhi to furnish bail for those 120 minutes. They wanted to consult their superiors, so they needed time. The magistrate said that they needed a 2-hour recess, and they said that Gandhiji would have to give the payment for the bail for this. Gandhiji did not need that time. The time was needed by the magistrate, by the lawful authorities. So Gandhiji again refused, and the judge released him without bail. So Gandhiji, here you can see he was very powerful. When the court restarted, the judge said he would not deliver the judgment for several days. They could not come to any decision. They could not release Gandhi, and they could not arrest him too. So he said that it would take several days for him to come to the judgment. Meanwhile, he allowed Gandhi to remain at liberty. So Gandhiji was free in the meantime until he gives the sentence, the punishment, the judgment. Gandhiji could be free and could live in Champaran. So here for the first time, civil disobedience movement won. Okay, this was the first time when a person who actually disobeyed the law was more powerful than the lawful authorities. So this is it for the day. Please read the text again and again. This is very important chapter. You get long questions from this chapter. I'm going to send you a assignment as well for 2 marks question. Do that and send on app. Have a nice day.